Welcome everybody to the final day of groups here at the European Masters. After today, we should know the majority of the teams heading to our quarter-final stages. My name is xScoundrel, and I'm very pleased to bring Kadril back onto the desk here. Obviously, yesterday was your first day casting. How was it?
It was fun. I mean, yeah, the first game was an absolute banger. It really was. But it was fun. Yeah, I'm excited for day two.
Yeah, absolutely. And actually, speaking of yesterday, let's take a look at some of the highlights from yesterday. And as you can see, there were some really insane games, but none more so than that first game that we had.
Yeah, the first game was super, super close. One Orianna auto attack, you could say, well, if he sold his boots and bought a Lich Bane, he would have ended, but you can never really work in hindsight. I mean, Pompa had a bad couple games. I think Misfits had a few shaky games here and there, but Giants look so consistent.
Yeah, and I think Giants really were the story of the group, right? They were the last hope for the SLO. Well, not the last hope, but, you know, Movistar Riders have yet to qualify, so it was a really big hope for the SLO to get through to that quarterfinal stage. Yep. And they came out swinging 3-0 on the day, I believe, to go up to 5-1. By the way, the highest scoreline that we have in terms of win-loss ratio out of any team at the European Masters in the group stages. Now, one could argue semantics of group strength, but realistically, the SLO delivered, and they have a seed through to the quarterfinals.
Definitely. I think Giants found their footing. They realized week one, maybe a couple things were working, maybe a couple things weren't. Coming into week two, they swap it up. They go for the tanks top, they go for the carry jungles, they even bust out the GP here and there. So I think they were quite successful overall. Impressed by their play at least, and I think just their win conditions and just how they execute the map movements was just really good.
Absolutely. I don't want to take anything away from Misfits Premier though. They still qualify. You know, they're still coming through as second seed. That makes the second LFL team to make it through to the quarterfinal stages. And as you can see on your screen right now, we have Group A and Group B 100% decided right now. LDLC go through as first seed, followed by Kickneus from Group A, and Group C is Vodafone Giants, then followed by Misfits Premier. Now with Group B, we know that Ago Rogue will be going through, but on Sunday we have some tiebreakers to play, which will be Movistar Riders going up against Gamer Legion for the first, I think it's the best of one. That team will then go through, and they will then face Ago Rogue to decide who gets the first and second seed. So we have that played on Sunday, and we'll know the outcome of Group B then. But for now, we have Group D, and we're going to be kicking things off with GamersOrigin versus Fnatic Rising, the final LFL seed. And if GamersOrigin were to capitalize on today, they would make it, for the first time ever, to have the LFL with 3 seeds in the quarterfinal stages.
I mean, that's quite crazy to have all of your teams that go to EU Masters all qualify out of group stage. I think that would be a huge achievement for the LFL, but it's going to be tough. I mean, you could argue Fnatic's looking a little bit weak now that MagiFelix has gone to China and they've subbed in Chibs. We don't really know how good he'll perform. Maybe MagiFelix is their main carry, but we're straight into draft. So I would expect the first thing is GamersOrigin's ban away Taric, Bravado. Yes. Known as a Taric one trick, so that would be a pretty good first ban. Also things like Orianna, maybe if you want to shut down some Chibs champions. If you look to the solo queue, Kiana, there's one straight away. Or even things like the Lucien.
Yeah, and I think obviously Lucien being something that, for instance, Pride has been playing in the top lane. Now, as you mentioned, I think it's quite clear, Chibs coming in for Fnatic Rising is a big shake-up for the team, and I would be lying to say that it is a that it wasn't a downgrade. You know, coming from MagiFelix to any player realistically on the European mid lane ladder is going to be quite a tall order to try to perform at the level that he could. But I don't want to undersell Chibs. The guy was the rookie of the split in the UKLC last year. He has had competitive experience. It's not like it's a complete random from solo queue they brought in. This guy has had some level of competitive experience on the Rift, but it is a big ask for him to step into the shoes of MagiFelix and have the same kind of impact.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, MagiFelix, big shoes to fill, huge solo queue player. You could argue he has shaky performances on stage, but he's been playing pretty well since the start of the split. So bans coming out here, you got the Hecarim, Taric, Kiana, so all just target bans from blue side. Fnatic Rising have one more choice, it's going to be the Kalista, so we're probably going to see an Ashe Senna trade again, maybe a Jhin in the mix. So you could first pick something else if you didn't want to pick the AD, but I guess they're just going to go for Ashe.
Yeah, actually going to be prioritizing SMILEY here, who I think has 7 MVP awards in the LFL, 4 more than anybody else in that entire competition.
He's pretty good.
He's a pretty good AD carry, and I think GamersOrigin realizing that, going to hand him over something powerful like that Ashe. Interesting to see where Fnatic goes with their draft. Who do they end up prioritizing? If this Lucien does get locked in, that has that flexibility for realistically mid and top. I don't really think we're going to see too many Lucians in the AD carry role these days.
The only real Lucien you'll ever see in bot is if it really needs to go there and you can play like a Lucien Yuumi or something, but I like the pickup. I know Pride's going to play some Lucien top maybe, or maybe Chibs has been practicing it a bit. We haven't seen it much in the solo queue, but you don't really need to match AD right now. If you pick away the Lucien, you could go like Lucien Senna, but it's not optimal. So picking jungle works. If Dan thinks Evelyn's really strong, then that's definitely what he should go for, because when you want to play Evelyn, you want to play AD solo laners, so that could dictate the fact that you're going to go Lucien top, but they're going to play it safe, just go with the AD carry. Ezreal's open, it's quite a good AD carry overall, scales the 2 items really well. So now they're hiding, basically. They could have picked Evelynn, but then they could have got counter-picked.
Yeah.
So, yeah, Dan's just going to wait on third pick for jungle or mid.
Yeah, we'll see what happens here. And obviously, Lilia being open, something that bluezor has played. We could expect to see that locked in, something that's got a relative strength in jungle right now. I think, you know, there are plenty of options open. Maybe if bluezor were to go for any of these carry junglers, which we've seen a huge rise in, it's going to be the Graves here. He cycled through several options, followed up by the Syndra, for which we can assume is going to be toucouille.
Yeah, LPL likes to blind pick Graves. I suppose they know that, or they think that Dan's not very good on AP junglers, so it's sort of like the Nidalee, the Lilia, and the Evelynn. Dan could pick a jungler here. I mean, there's 3 AP jungles open, which all are good into Graves overall. You either have a choice of mid or a jungle here, just to counter pick, depends on the champion pool. Chibs is already a little bit banned out, so picking something like LeBlanc wouldn't hurt too much, but then that gives away the Lucien flex, so they're going to go for their Akali, so they do give away the Lucien flex straight away out of the draft. So they know it's Lucien top now. So Fnatic could invest in top lane bans, and I would expect GamersOrigin to look for some jungle bans, perhaps. So
if you're banning away for top lane for Shemek here, would you banning away things like the Camille, like the Wukong potentially? Like, what are you trying to target away if you're going for Lucien top in this scenario?
It depends. I think Lucien top doesn't have any losing matchups. I think it wins most matchups. You could argue like a Wukong or a Jace could maybe try in the all-ins, but I think champions like Malphite are really strong against it. Champions with Engage like Ornn just sort of make team fights happen rather than win the lane, because Lucien top doesn't really have many counters. Maybe Kalista top could duel against it, but it's not really what you want to go for. So they might look at something like a Camille with the Syndra. It looks really well. They might look at something that they're banning away Galio support, I guess. So that's quite a good ban so far. I mean, I would expect something like a Malphite or Sion, but he could go towards something like a Camille Wukong.
Absolutely. Chibs picking up the Akali. You know, I think this is something that Chibs played a lot last year. He hasn't got that many solo queue games on it this year, and obviously we haven't seen him in competitive throughout 2020 thus far. He's been, I think, a sub 4 Fnatic Rising for the entirety of this year. But last year, when he was playing a lot of the things like Irelia and things like Akali, and so it is something that he's got quite a lot of practice on. So, you know, it's not like he's coming in completely blind with this pick here.
I wonder if they're picking Leona here. They're banning away Braum, Thresh is down, Nautilus is down. Ezreal Leona is a pretty good lane. I mean, champions like Morgana are open, which could be good into Leona, but yeah, I think they're looking at Leona here. Maybe a Leona ban could help the draft here for the side of Geo. There's not many other melee supports open or like these strong meta supports, so Leona ban does come through. I'm not really sure. I mean, Rakan is kind of good on the board now because Leona and Nautilus are down. Something like a Rakan could work in team fights. Otherwise, you're looking at things like a Pyke and stuff like this. These B-tier supports. Yeah,
Bravado actually is a support player that will often have seen him blue side first rotation or second rotation pick Leona in that scenario. Now Dan goes for the Rek'sai here. This is something that he had huge success on in the domestic split versus XL, for instance. They got the reverse sweep in spring with that Rek'sai. But what do you make of Rek'sai into this particular matchup?
Well, I don't think Rek'Sai into Graves is that good of a matchup. I think Graves wins that. So I think that's a losing jungle matchup, especially Graves, Syndra. I think it's really hard for Rek'Sai to get on anyone. Maybe he can get a level 3 gank mid, snowball that lane. But in terms of 2v2, Rek'Sai against Sett, Syndra, Ashe, it's a bit difficult to get on the backline. Graves has a dash. The Sett support comes in from the side of Geo. You could argue it goes top, but I doubt it. So if Geo just picks something like a tank here, I think they're in such a good spot. I think they have enough tools to deal with the Akali, for the smokescreen, the arrow, the stun, the Sett. So something like a tank or even a Camille wouldn't hurt too much. I'm just interested to see what Fnatic look for support. I mean, there's Rakan open. They're going to go for the Wukong, so it's more of a team fight oriented champion. That would work pretty well as well, but okay. My man picks the Maokai. I like
it. And actually something that was being mentioned over the last couple of weeks, that GamersOrigin had moved away from Shemek on carry-type champions, had made that transition to where the meta is seemingly heading, which is just back to tank tops. He'd been playing a lot of Maokai, and with the lock-in here, this is something that he's been doing a lot of in the LFL. And I kind of want to just add to that, by the way, Kadril. GamersOrigin came as the 2nd seed for LFL, but right now they are 10-2 in the regular LFL season. So they are technically right now the 1st seed of LFL in terms of regular season standing. They're in a real tear at this point in time.
Okay, so they pick Shen. That's definitely not for lane. They're going for sort of like a 1-3-1 here. Lucien Akali on side lane, the Shen will to help them, so the Rek'Sai gets them to the early game. But I like the pickup from Go. I think most teams are starting to realize that carry tops are harder to execute than tank tops when it comes to jungle, because jungle you can pick a carry, and then you can have the jungle to snowball to the early game, and the game is just much easier to snowball, much easier to get Drakes, much easier to get Heralds. So people are sort of adapting as these tournaments are going on. They can see, like in EU, tank tops and carry jungles are working really well for us. So But then there's Fnatic who says, nah, we're going to stick to our tank tops. We're going to stick to 1-3-1. We don't care about team fights. But I just like the Maokai pick overall because it just shuts down the Akali quite easily. If she comes into the team fight, he can just instantly lock her down, and the team fight should be won.
Something you were saying yesterday when we were dealing with Pretty's Akali, you were saying there's not enough point-and-click CC, right? There's not enough way to just hit a button and lock Akali down. Well, obviously Maokai does that. Then you have the X, and that allows you to chain the stun, the Ashe arrow, the Maokai ultimate as well if you absolutely need it. So there are tools to deal with Chibs. It's an interesting approach here by Fnatic for this first game, and I kind of want to set the stakes. Obviously, these wins are really important. Like. Everyone in this group is 2-1 apart from Intrepid Fox, who are currently at 0-3. So every single win that you get sets you up for qualification out of this group. If Fnatic was somehow to get the win here, they would then feel much more confident going into their Intrepid Fox matchup, which would get them potentially 4 wins for that qualification. So this is such an important matchup for both the LFL and the NLC. The winner of this puts themselves in such a strong position to get out of the group.
Yeah, and if you're looking at both these drafts, Geo, they've drafted a really strong mid-jungle 2v2. They have good bot push as well, and they have really good team fight. So that's sort of their win conditions here. And if you look at the side of Fnatic, they have the Shen ult, so they really come online at 6. That really makes it so the 2v2s and the 3v3s on the top side are really favored towards Fnatic. That'll be around the 8-9 minute mark. But basically the whole idea of Fnatic's comp is just play over sides. Rek'sai needs to get these solo lanes ahead. Ezreal, Shen, complete weak side. Like, they have to just chill, try to get even. Maybe GamersOrigin could look to go for some mid to bots, but Dan needs to cover top. He needs to make sure that Lucien can push. He's not punished, and even the Lucian's running with a cleanse, which I think is smart, but the only problem is
you lose TP.
Wait, he's going mid.
Okay, so Pride has switched mid and Chibs has gone to top lane here. Interesting. Okay,
I mean, that makes sense why he has cleanse. Chibs is going to go into top. I mean, GamersOrigin could have expected... They couldn't really have expected this. I mean, they would have like magic resistant armor on the side of Syndra and Maokai, so it gives some sort of base stats help for the side of Fnatic. Lucien into Syndra. It's not the best matchup, especially when you're not running with TP. In the early game, you can get the push, but in terms of 2v2s, you're not that strong with the side of Rek'Sai. So I'll be interested to see how this goes. It definitely makes it so Maokai can easily farm a lot more. I think he would struggle way more versus Lucien. So it kind of benefits Geo in a sense that now your Maokai is not really weak side. He can farm up quite easily, I think.
Very interesting adaptation for Fnatic in the early game here. We saw also a late blue buff invade for bluezor onto that blue side jungle of Fnatic. Dan now probably forced to go into a vertical jungling pattern. Again, we talked a lot about how the vertical jungle affects the map. How does it affect the map this time round with Graves probably being confined to the bottom side here? So
he's taken away the blue and Grom, so that means... I'm trading a bot. That means he can take his red now and he'll hit level 3. Dan knows that he took his blue buff because of the Warden River. And the Ashe should spot out Rek'Sai on the golems now. So basically the whole idea is now is... Okay, bluezor did skip his red, so he did get level 3 regardless. So now bluezor needs to defend his top side. He sees Dan, he needs to make sure he can keep his top side camps alive. And Dan, once he shows on this ward, GamersOrigin have all the information to play with. They have some mid push, but Shemek's definitely TPing back to make sure he keeps some sort of prio. Pride's moving with him, but if bluezor can just sort of stall this out and wait for Syndra to push in, Pride's going to lose a wave if they want to commit to this. And if they do commit to this, it's not super worth to get blue off on Rek'Sai.
Does get the blue here, put some pressure on. Not going to commit to the engagement. The flash comes through. We're immediately into a 3 versus 2 situation. It is going to be Syndra making her way over. Another flash burnt. Pride may be thinking about it, but Fnatic not going to commit with the fact that toucouille is covering.
Okay, so the Fnatic do go for the blue off invade. They want to make sure that Dan's not completely out of the game. They don't get it in the end. I think Shemek went in a bit there early there, but Hustlin is actually moving up. They have full bot prio. Hustlin's moving up to ensure they get this grab.
Oh, they flash taunted in the bot lane to try and punish this. However, there goes the exhaust straight up. Now, SMILEY does not have any summoners left apart from that heal. No, that's actually already gone down as well, but he's actually trading 1 versus 2 in this
Bravado
situation. Forces the flash. Bravado doesn't have a flash either. Here comes toucouille. They will not get the kills. The teleport does keep them alive here, so Fnatic not able to convert, but not yet punished by that engage.
Yeah, and I think you'll see Dan start to struggle here. bluezor got the blue buff, he got the crab. Hustlin's cancelling these bases. That's really going to hurt Fnatic. Ashe is already up 10 CS. She's going to push in this wave and crash it. Fnatic have the base. Ezreal doesn't have TP. SMILEY's going to get a free base here, so that's going to lead to like an early dragon setup for the side of Geo. They're going to get a big CS lead in this bot lane, and like we said, Fnatic's bot lane's playing weak side. Hustlin had so much push potential in bot that he was able to run top side, run all the way back, help him get double crab, and now make their bot lane lose all sums.
You see here Dan now just keeping an eye on this River Scuttler. You can see Pride also hovering by, but they can't actually contest this. Fnatic just losing out in pressure across the map right now. Big wave lost to tower as well. Just huge losses for that Fnatic bot lane, now bordering sort of 15 CS behind.
It's a feels bad man for Dan. It really is. He's lost his Gromp and blue. He's going to lose the blue buff on the side of Geo as well, and he's going to get the Gromp respawn, but he's going to be down around 3 to 4 camps as soon as sort of the game progresses, when bluezor clears his whole jungle, bases, goes to his top side, clears his top side. I think Dan's looking at a sort of a level or a 2-level disadvantage if the game keeps going like this, and HustlinbeasT, props to him. The prio he's using in bot, I mean, the Ashe Sett is such a oppressive lane, and this is what happens if you play a weak side bot. You're playing Ezreal Shen, you have no agency in the early game to push, to fight, to do anything. You saw they tried to flash on them, forced the 2v1, but SMILEY almost was able to 1v2. The TP came in, forced him to lose sums, and yeah, Fnatic's bot lane is going to struggle here. I think with Geo having so much pressure in bot, they can transfer it to jungle to help out bluezor, so good early game for Geo.
I'm kind of wondering, just in terms of Fnatic's draft, how they thought they were going to execute on this. Like, what was the actual game plan for a draft like this, especially if you're swapping that Lucien to mid? Is it just that you had to get some sort of major prior in one of your side lanes?
Well, the Shen is definitely for the 1-3-1, so they're definitely trying to scale to 1 or 2 items, crack open tier 1s, maybe even lose tier 1s if you lose the early game, and then just try to play over sides. But the whole draft concept doesn't make much sense. You don't have much CC, you don't really have an engage. Your whole comp is essentially relying on your solo laners being ahead and pushing in sides and forcing the enemy team to come to you so that your team can get objectives on the other side of the map. That's how 1-3-1 works. But the Lucien into Syndra, it's not going to get a lead. I think that matchup's pretty even, especially when he's running Cleanse. And the Maokai into Akali, you saw he TP'd back early, he lost an entire wave or 2, and he's only down around 10 CS, and that just delays the Ruby Crystal spike. You can't really get Maokai at the game. He's just going to build Ruby Crystals on Ruby Crystals. He's going to be really useful. So bluezor here, he's really ahead in jungle camps. He's going to help his bot lane here, make sure they keep the push, and Hustlin, he has a flash.
Hustlin has got flash. He will not be easy to take down here for the Fnatic bot lane, although he doesn't even bother, maybe looking to turn it with bluezor coming in. That's a good gank setup now for Fnatic. And SMILEY's doing what he can to put a bit of pressure on to xMatty, who gets taken low. That's a good block there coming out from Shen to make sure that no extra damage comes through. They'll take the kill, but won't get much more from it.
Well, that kind of gets Dan back in the game. He got the XP, he got the level up from the kill. He's got a kill now as well, so he's definitely caught up from that play. I think Hustlin just underestimating Fnatic's damage. I can see he went back in there thinking bluezor was around, so he's going to look for the E, the W to make sure that he can stay alive, but he didn't get anything off in the end. Maybe a bit too greedy with his spell usage there. He could have just ran away, but yeah, Fnatic net a kill. They get first blood onto Dan, and that's kind of what you need if you want to snowball this early game.
Well, they finally get something back as well. Looking at Chibs here in the top lane, as you said, he's only very slightly ahead. Obviously, as you said, Maokai not too bothered. He's not going to die. He's not going to lose a huge amount of experience. He's going to eventually scale up and become useful for this team. But now Fnatic looking like they're setting up around this dragon, or at least trying to put some pressure on this dragon area. Felt like it's been very GamersOrigin favored thus far, but no major advantages locked up. toucouille taking super low. Pride with the solo kill gets traded back under tower though. Pride definitely came out on top though, just in terms of what he was able to force, but he just lose that wave unfortunately.
Yeah, we're going to go into a replay here to watch the fight. I think Pride played this really well actually. He saw the wave was pushing in. toucouille went for the Q. He went for the full combo, went for the double auto, and the culling was really good because he knew that toucouille had to flash, so he was instantly ready. He flashed first even. Look, you see, he instantly flashed his flash, made sure he got the full combo off, but toucouille does get his full unleash power off as well, so it's a 1-for-1 in the end. The wave crashes for the side of Geo. They did pick up the dragon as well from that, so...
Actually, Pride didn't come out on top. I was wrong. Pride, it looked fancy, but it didn't really gain much.
Yeah, trading 1-for-1 on a Lucien lane is not what you want. You really want the Lucien to be snowballing and getting the advantage, but that just kind of nets an even for both of them. Fnatic, good response here. They're moving up with their bot lane a little bit here to ensure they get this Herald. They have the top push, so the second they heard the dragon go down, instantly start the Herald. Graves on the bot side of the map, free Herald for Fnatic, so... I would like to see them try and get some more resource on Lucien. Their bot lane's really struggling. Their top lane's not netting too much advantage, and they just went 1-for-1 in mid, and they have these early game solo lanes that they need to get ahead.
See Pride now. Just checking where bluezor is. We'll get stunned up. It looks like the man advantage is here for Fnatic. They should be able to secure this blue buff. Dan just being as aggressive as possible, trying to take resources back away from that Graves, and has actually caught up in camps now as well, it looks like. So at least keeping himself relatively even on CS.
Yeah, he definitely did a really good job of capturing up. The kill definitely helped. He got a few full clears off while bluezor had to cover lanes, so good spot for Fnatic. They have not really got a gold lead, but they've got the Herald, so they do have some resources to net themselves a gold lead, but this bot lane's a big problem. It's almost 30 CS on the side of Matty that is down. HustlinbeasT coming in here to try and force some sort of dive, maybe look for some play, but Bravado's come back to the lane, so xMatty will pick up this whole wave. It won't be as bad as it looks, but they are down 3 plates in 9 minutes in a lane where you wouldn't expect too much to happen, but just based on the support picks and Ashe having to push all the time, that's just how it goes.
Yeah, and unfortunately just this bot lane kind of left to do its own thing, especially with the way the jungle was split early on. You know, there was no way that Dan was able to get... There was nothing for Dan to do on the bottom side of the map, so he just couldn't get down there to really have an impact, and they were just kind of left to their own devices, and then as such, xMatty and Bravado were falling behind here versus this GamersOrigin bot lane. And we kind of talked about the strength of the GamersOrigin bot lane as well, with SMILEY having, you know, those 7 MVP awards in the LFL. He is someone that you give a platform to carry, he will do it. You know, he will step up and be that guy.
He's definitely been the MVP of Geo in the regular split in the LFL. I mean, he's up 20 CS here. They did die to a gank, which was a bit unfortunate. Dan got back in the game, but HustlinbeasT played it really well in the early game, making sure to cancel xMatty's base. They lost a huge wave for that, so... And that's how the lane goes. You know, xMatty was sitting on a tier, while SMILEY was sitting on a BF sword, so there's really no agency in bot side. But Dan has flash, toucouille doesn't, so this could be a good setup here.
Yeah, Dan's looking for it. Does get stunned away. Will ult forward, doesn't even need to flash. They find the kill. Dan finally getting that impact in lane. And we talked about the guy who has been the standout player, the kind of the rock for Fnatic, and it always has been Dan in the jungle.
Yeah, definitely a super good play by Dan there. He read that toucouille no flash, probably went 1 for 1 in the end, but forcing the sums out of Syndra is really good when you have the Shen at level 6 and you have the Rek'sai flash. It's such a good setup in a 2v2, because even if Graves is there to match, even if bluezor does read the play, they have the Shen to cover it. Bravado's doing a good job roaming around here, but the TP's coming in, the Ashe is coming in as well. Ashe is
coming in, will go wide. Bravado face checks here as well. Gets taken very low. Taunt comes through, flashes across the board, but he will go down. And the GamersOrigin 4-man roam squad teleports in and makes sure they get their kill.
Bit of an unnecessary TP there from Shemek, but really well played from Geo. They got a really... I don't know how they got in that bush. That was quite sneaky, actually. They must have ran up river and just hid there, and then Rek'sai didn't actually see their movement. They were probably just standing still. They did look for the... They could go for the face check, and good pick by Geo there. Did recover them a lot. They lost 3 plates in mid, so this Lucien is definitely getting lots of resources, but the Rek'sai as well, so really good for the side of Fnatic, but that play kind of turned a little bit of gold in favor of Geo.
Okay, so you talked a little bit about when Fnatic want to come online, when Fnatic want to start activating this composition. Where do they go from here? You know, we're now post 6. We have got that Shen ultimate available. You know, the side lane ability is there for Fnatic if they want it. How do they convert, and how do they get to a stage where they can start executing on a composition that's a little bit hard to execute on in general?
Yeah, so the whole idea of split push comes from when tier 1s are down or when tier 1s are up. So basically when the lane phase ends is when the 1-3-1 kicks in. Lucian's picked up the Mirror Mana, Akali still hasn't picked up the Gunblade, so when Lucien gets sort of a little bit of lifesteal, he has the Mirror Mana stacked up a bit, maybe even a Blade in there or something like that, or an Essence Reaver, and the Akali picks up the Gunblade, that's when you really want to unlock your solo lanes so that they can push tier 1 towers on sides, because cracking open mid tower is quite difficult unless Geo make mistakes or they get caught. So you'll probably see the transition into 1-3-1 and the transition into their snowball when the lane phase ends, basically, because this Ashe is actually getting pretty strong. The team fights are still in the favor of Geo, although they don't have TP on Shemek, so this dragon coming up in 30 seconds might be a bit difficult for them. I would like to see Shemek kind of push in this top wave, maybe even just run straight to the dragon, or if they don't want to contest it, maybe bluezor can run up to the top side and try and force something there, but then you run the risk of them heralding bots, so Shemek needs to involve himself in this dragon play somehow, and there's probably going to be a fight.
Yeah, you can see actually Chibs has head back to base, and you can see now Shemek is walking down as well. They understand that there is likely to be some kind of skirmish happening at this point in the map. Shemek, without the teleport, will have to make himself known. Chibs is kind of hanging around in base right now, but has that teleport and that Gunblade now activated. So he could find a flank, he could have the impact. You know, SMILEY is an easier target for an Akali to take out in a fight, but I don't know if Fnatic are interested. It's only the second dragon of the game. There might be a better time when they have item spikes to sort of impact this.
So Fnatic could have done the opposite. If they actually had any vision on Maokai, they could have gone for the cross map play top, dropped the Herald, and maybe Lucien could have pushed away with Rek'sai and Shen. They could move to the top side as 4-man, but Fnatic won't get much on the cross map. Dan could still Herald top here if he wants to. The turret platings are going to fall.
He actually dropped Herald mid earlier on.
Oh, he did?
Yeah.
Okay.
So yeah, they're not going to have the ability to cross map. No.
So they should look for platings top at least. Try to get something in top. The platings are falling in about 10 seconds, so maybe they can get one on Akali if it's low enough, but it's good by Fnatic here. They identify the bot side's weak side. Ever since they lost the Drake, they don't have any vision to contest. Even though they do have TP on Chibs, it's probably better to just invade the enemy top side, try and take away the camps, try to deny Maokai some CS, because even if you do match bot side, I don't think you really win at this stage in the game, because they have full vision, they have the Sett, the Ashe, they can engage on you whenever they want, and I think that's the power of Geo's comp. They have so many engage tools. They have the Maokai flash, Syndra stuns, the Sett flanks, the Ashe arrow, whereas on the side of Fnatic, you're kind of relying on Rek'sai getting in there without dying or getting knocked away, or the Akali getting on the backline.
So we talked a little bit about how Fnatic want to sort of go from here. Like you said, certain item spikes need to be hit for the Lucien and the Akali, and then we can kind of activate a 1-3-1. For GamersOrigin, what is their game plan? Group around objectives, hope that you can force a big fight? The
Dragons are their objective. It's Ocean Soul. They've already got 2, so the next one's spawning about 3 to 4 minutes. So they could get sold by about 23, 24 minutes if they play it well. Just look for team fights. They're going to swap their bot lane up into top side because they notice top tower is low. They want to make sure they defend that. Shemek's moving into bot. The Herald's up. Shemek is running to his bot wave, so if Fnatic want, they could try and force a Herald. xMatty needs to base still and run there. He is going to be a bit late, but the TP disadvantage is a big deal in this game. I think when it comes to neutral objectives in the early game, first 15 minutes, maybe 20 minutes, when it comes to Dragons, Heralds, TP advantage is a big deal. So Shemek, if they want to try to contest his Herald, he should just push his bot wave and run straight to Herald again, just like he did earlier with the Dragon. Try and involve himself in the play because the Herald is up. Fnatic do have a window to force it, but it's kind of a 4v4 because I think Shemek and xMatty will arrive roughly the same time.
Yeah, it looks like it's going to be the case. Shemek already walking his way up. Nothing to gain on the bottom side of the map, so wants to be there for a potential fight around this Rift Herald. Now, Fnatic aren't committing in terms of positioning, but they have got some vision control around the area.
So Chibs can run bot here. The bot wave's pushing into the side of Fnatic, so Chibs can just kind of freeze the wave in a way that just let the wave push in. Shemek's losing minions bot, so Go have to force this Herald. They have to walk in, take the vision, just start it, and try to force some sort of fight because they're losing out on wave spot.
Do Fnatic just go for a potential steal here, or do they actually force the fight, in your opinion?
Depends on how they see the game. They have the Gunblade, they have all their flashes up, so the fight wouldn't be too bad. It all depends on where Akali can TP. This Herald's going down pretty fast, so they need to start the fight soon if they want to fight it.
Bravado stepped way too far up and will just get immediately engaged on now. I think Hustling could be going down here. It does get taken down eventually. The Cullen comes through. Chibs will be able to... did he teleport in? Yeah, he did teleport in on the backside, but realistically, that is a fight won for GamersOrigin.
That's miscommunication by the side of Fnatic. Bravado stepped up, Dan stepped up. It looked like they want to contest it, but where's their engaged? They don't have anything to pull the trigger and get Geo off of this objective. The TP comes in way too late. It was too reactionary, and I think that it was just a bit of indecisiveness. Do we just make them drop bot waves and give up this Herald and maybe lose mid tower for it? Or do we try to get a fight? Maybe a Shen can look for a flash taunt, but the whole problem with Fnatic's comp is the engage. You need Akali on a flank, you need Rek'sai to get some sort of way in, but if it's just a 4v4, 5v5, you can see they can't really find a way in.
It just felt way too late. It felt like they called the play way too late here.
Yeah, you can see Bravado's looking for some kind of taunt. He's asking, guys, are we fighting this? Chibs is TPing on bot side. Geo instantly react on Bravado's mistake, and that's the main thing. Geo, they can pull the trigger whenever they want. If you step up too far and make a mistake, Geo's just going to punish you for it. So they get Dan, they get Bravado, they can pop a Herald mid right now and get the tower. The Herald's being used, and that's the whole power of the second Herald. The first Herald, you want to get plates. Yeah. You want to get gold on your main carry. The second Herald, well, you want to get mid towers. But it looks like they got the mid tower without it, so maybe they can look for a tier 2 here. Pride does have the base, and he doesn't have TP, so he might be late to the play, but it is a bit risky to siege a tier 2 at 17 minutes in.
They're looking for the charge from the Rift Herald here. They are grouped up around it, and there isn't really the defense there for Fnatic. Now, they have got that engage of the Shen flash taunt, but GamersOrigin very respectfully back off here.
Yeah, good identification there. They could use their tempo there to try and get the mid-tier 2. It would end up in a fight. They could get chunked out, but it's their third Dragon spawning in 50 seconds. So sweep away the vision, take control of the jungle again, try to force Fnatic out, keep the waves pushed. You see Shemek's going to catch top to make sure they don't lose waves, because he's been dropping a lot of waves. Make sure they try to get bot push if they can, and then look for a 5v5.
You can see Fnatic are just desperately trying to set up around this third Dragon. Now, the third Dragon is one that you do want to contest. In a lot of cases, you don't want to give the soul point away, because that means then you have to contest every single Dragon from that point onwards in the game.
Now Fnatic have to pull the trigger, right? It's the opposite side of the spectrum. Shemek's pushing in top. They're going to lose minions on top side, so Fnatic are the ones who have to kind of force this Dragon. It spawns in 15 seconds. Go is playing this pretty well. They can run up mid, get the mid wave, and probably be in time for Drake. So Chibs identified this pretty well. He's going to push in bot wave. The whole idea of neutrals is try to make them lose waves while you're doing it. So they're losing gold on top, they're losing gold in mid, and now they're trying to force some gold loss in bot. But the objective spawned, the TPs are coming in, there's going to be a fight.
There's no way they're going to get this down in time, and Fnatic are going to have to be forced into a 5v5 play. Now Dan is sitting on the flank, as you said, that the way for the Rek'sai to find an avenue into the fight is so important here, and he was just hoping that he would be able to burrow underneath and find that extra way into the fight, but he's not able to. He's now work his way back through his blue side jungle again, looking for another flank opportunity potentially with Chibs, but this is a bit of a duel around the Dragon area.
Fnatic just lost mid tier 2. They're bleeding top waves, they're bleeding mid waves. They have to pull the trigger. They have no engage. Their whole comp is about 1-3-1. They have to team fight these Drakes.
And that's where GamersOrigin are really coming out on top. They know exactly what they need to do to win with their composition. The team fights favor them in every way, shape, or form, unless Chibs and Dan can find an unbelievable flank. And now Dan might be forced into a situation where it is a 50-50 steal. They won't get it. That is soul point down, and now Bravado forced to taunt across the wall. Fnatic will have to run with their tail between their legs. They were just unable to initiate the fight.
Soul point for the side of Geo, and this is why you don't see that many 1-3-1 comps throughout across the regions. Dragons are so strong, whether it's Mountain Soul, Ocean Soul, Inferno Soul, every kind of soul apart from arguably Cloud is just so useful in teamfights. So Fnatic, their whole objectives are tier 1 towers, tier 2 towers on sides, but if you can keep forcing these early dragons, forcing fights, Fnatic have to answer, and they didn't have one.
Absolutely didn't. They honestly just, it was almost impossible for them to find the correct avenue to engage the fight, and they rely almost solely on Bravado getting a good flash taunt with a great flank from Dan and Chibs, and that is, like, in terms of ease of execution, very difficult to set up, and you know, especially with how complex teamfight situations and the way that you approach them can be. It's almost impossible to find that every single time and in almost the perfect areas, and especially if vision control is as good as it was for GamersOrigin around that dragon.
That's why you see regions like EU, LPL, they really like the Scion, the Ornn. Champions like this, the Maokai does fill that void. The Camille is also a good champ. It works with both 1-3-1 and Engage, Wukong. All these team fighting, sort of scaling, carry or tank tops, they always have a trigger that they can pull. It's quite an easy one. It's not too hard. It's not complex. But if you're running Lucien top, Shen support, Rek'sai jungle, it's really hard to find engages. It's really hard to find proper team fight setup when you don't have the vision. So yeah, Fnatic struggling in the team fights with. They're struggling over neutral objectives. They did get one Herald in the early game, but I'd like to see them get... Now they've got the 1-3-1 setup. They've got both their solo lanes on side. There's no Drake for 3 minutes. They need to try and net some sort of gold. It looks like they're going to play into top side because Pride doesn't have TP. So if there was going to be a fight in top, then Chibs can TP in and help out. So that's why they're playing into top side, because if there was a fight in bot, for example, then Pride wouldn't be able to join.
Now remember, the outcome of this game is pretty important. It sets up the winner to have a good opportunity to get out of groups. If we were expecting Intrepid Fox to be the team that would likely be the easiest win, I guess, from this group, then 4 wins is kind of the magic number to get yourself out of an EU Masters group. Pride taken very low. Why are you stepping back, mate? Are you trying to bait here? And here comes Dan. That is the engage he was looking for. The Rek'Sai ultimate with the Unburrow comes through. He trades back 1-for-1. Pride oversteps, and they're not going to be able to get anything from that kill as a result.
They finally had the 1-3-1 setup, but Pride just steps too far. toucouille, it was a bit cocky from him too, right? He's completely weak side, no vision, and he's trying to clear the wave and fight him in his face. The Shen ult could have come out to save Pride, perhaps, but it's just not executed properly the way the 1-3-1 should work. They were hitting the towers, yeah, they could have tried to force a dive, but I think Pride just got stunned, stepped up too far, and now Geo, they've pushed in the mid-wave. They're bleeding out mid-waves from the side of Fnatic now again. They took some vision, they're going to move into bot side to try and stop Chibs getting this push in bot.
Yeah, they're just trying to prevent that 1-3-1 from happening easily enough.
Chibs in danger here, I think, if he goes on him.
Yeah, I don't see an easy way out for him in this situation. They are being collapsed on. He has got the vision control to support it. He's already used the Shroud, and Chibs realizes that. He's just going to go straight into Shemek, hoping he can do his best to try and find a kill. He'll dive away, drawing them towards the dragon. Oh, flashes out of the arrow last minute. Chibs might even be able to escape.
Shemek has to flash.
Throws down the emote here, uses the smoke screen once more, trying to dive further. Now bluezor trying to find that kill, will do, and will punish Chibs for the emote
Fnatic onto Baron, but they don't have any damage. Ezreal doesn't even have Triforce yet. Pride, he has 2 items, but it's just not enough. They can't start this Baron. It's hard for them to tank it up. You see, Rek'Sai doesn't even have Black Cleaver. He went for the Sterak's. He knows that they have no frontline. They have all single target damage abilities. They have no teamfight spells, no AoE, no burst. All of their champions are single target damage. And
it's hard to execute as well, you know, and that just, unfortunately, Chibs almost out there, but he couldn't quite escape. And as I was saying, the result of this game is very important. You know, 4 wins is the magic number. Getting yourself to 3 this early on in your final day of groups is going to be that important. And for the LFL, especially, if this was GamersOrigin to win, it sets the French region to have potentially 4 teams in the quarterfinals. We're going to have a brief look here at that Chibs kill. Yeah,
it would be amazing for LFL to have 3 teams in out of group stage, but Chibs, the weak side police came in again, the sirens were wailing, the arrow comes out, he has to flash away from it, but good identification from bluezor here. I didn't actually expect this. He just flashes forward and gets the W slow. He gets the red smite off, so he gets Nimbus Cloak and he chases him down. Chibs has no more escapes, and then here comes out the Graves ult just to finish him off.
The Graves ult special effects, you know, like the graphic effects, looks really weird.
Could get cancelled here.
Oh, he gets cancelled, yes. Has to use the ultimate to survive, trying to buy some time as he gets thrown back into the team. The stopwatch comes out, but I don't know if Fnatic have the takes. Bravado! Absolute bodyguard, but unfortunately it's in vain as now Pride comes through. Here comes Chibs, doing what he can in that smoke screen. Got a couple of people left to execute, goes straight into SMILEY, finds the kill, back onto Hustlin, but he will not get the kill. bluezor takes a triple. Fnatic tried their best, but Matty just wasn't there.
My man Hustling, he identified it straight away. Rek'sai no flash, he's trying to tunnel out. Nah, mate, you're coming back here. Flash ease on him, brings him back in the fight. They force the team fight. Geo, it's soul point. 5 seconds, they'll get the Ocean Soul, and that could be game deciding.
That Ocean Soul's a win condition, flat out, right?
Yeah.
Ocean Soul is an absolute win condition, especially with the composition with a Maokai as well.
Fnatic here, they're looking for a pick. They know they can't win the 5v5, but bluezor just pinks the bush, and then they're like, wait, what's this guy doing? That's illegal. He just flashes on him, cancels away the Rek'sai E, makes sure he takes him down, and SMILEY, he does drop low a bit here. Chibs does TP in on this ward, you'll see in a second. He does manage to take out SMILEY in the fight. I mean, the Graves ult finishes off Dan. Pride's trying to do as much as he can with the hits, but Geo just have too much team fighting ability. They have the smoke screen, Syndra stuns, they have Ashe arrows, they have Sett, they have Maokai even on top of that. There's just too many things you have to deal with. Too much CC, too much zone control, and this Fnatic 1-3-1 comp with just single target damage, no CC, no engage, it's just not cutting it for me.
I don't think the gold difference quite reflects how far ahead GamersOrigin are right now. You're looking at it's only 3,000. You think, oh, 3,000? That's not an insane amount of gold lead to have at 25 minutes. But everything, like every situation is now in favor of GamersOrigin. They have the Ocean Soul ready to go. They're forcing Fnatic into these teamfight situations that they don't want to be in. And Fnatic have never had the opportunity to execute on their 1-3-1. They've been drawn time and time again to neutral objectives that GamersOrigin have continuously forced.
Fnatic here. They've identified some sort of win condition. Try picks. Maybe they can try to catch someone from Geo out, force a 4v5. But if Geo plays smart, they stay together, they get vision together, they hold hands, then damn. Tunnels away. Seems to be fine. But like I was saying, Fnatic, the 1-3-1 doesn't work anymore. You're going to have to face this grouped team of Geo, try to get a pick, and then force a Baron to try and get back in the game. Because if you run a 1-3-1 comp and you do get the Baron, it can turn out super successful because you can snowball all the towers, get all the gold for it on your solo laners. But if they lose the Baron, it's going to be a tragedy. So Geo, they're getting full vision on the Baron side, top side. Shemek has TP, he has bot push. He could move into mid now and they can start contesting mid waves. And if they can push them out of their top side jungle, then Geo can start Baron whenever they want. They've got the damage, they've got the tanks, they've got everything they need. They've got the Ocean Soul.
And for the NLC, Fnatic is the only seed in the entire competition. You know, like, they lost Riddle in the play-ins. We only have 2 seeds for the NLC as a whole, and Fnatic have never failed to make the top 8 in a competition of the European Masters they've been involved in. To lose here would make the job to get out of groups, especially with Mouse Sports in the same group, that much harder for Fnatic. Yeah,
it's going to be an upwards battle for them. I mean, just looking at the game state now, Chibs 2 levels down on the Akali. Pride, he does have a CS lead, but it's not enough to match this team comp of Geo. I mean, someone has to answer bot. Shemek split pushing on a Maokai with TP because Pride's running no TP, Chibs doesn't have TP. Fnatic either have to force an engage here or just someone needs to catch bot.
Feels really bad for Fnatic because, as you said, even if they wanted to force the issue, they don't have good enough engage. They don't have reliable engage on their composition. It's not like they just have a button they can press and say, okay, we fight now. It just doesn't work like that. They need to have the right setup for it. Now, Dan is looking for a flank opportunity, dives over the wall, gets a double knockup, but the support just isn't there right now. Chibs straight into the back line, uses the smoke screen, trying to buy time, goes on to SMILEY, but oh my word, it's a massacre! GamersOrigin like shooting fish in a barrel. Fnatic, you're the fish. GamersOrigin, they get a complete sweep. The only member left alive is Matty, and this should be Baron.
Huge props to bluezor. He's 2v1ing the enemy top and AD carry. The Lucien and the Ezreal both dashed on him to try and kill him, and bluezor just popped Pride where he stood. Just well played from Geo overall. He saw Syndra put her full combo off. The Ocean Soul healed her up. There's just not enough team fighting tools from this side of Fnatic. If you're relying at 30 minutes into the game on a Rek'sai tunnel with a Shen ult and it's almost like a flash engage, when people have Zhonya's, they have flashes, they have Ocean Soul, they have all these items and a Maokai, it's just so hard to execute a fight, start a team fight, even do anything. So I wanted to put your eyes on bluezor here. You can see they look for toucouille. They have to kind of herd them into one part of the jungle and get one kind of fight going. Dan goes in, he doesn't get the knockup because toucouille pops the Zhonya's. Toucouille instant dashes away. Now watch bluezor, he gets the smoke screen, Pride dashes in, Matty dashes in, instantly pops Pride, and now Akali gets rooted, stunned. There is just too much CC.
Too much CC. You kind of mentioned it at the start of the game, like the way to counter Akali is point and click CC. And the fact that you can combat that off the Maokai is too much for Chibs. For Chibs, to give him the task of going in and just single-handedly blowing up SMILEY with all of these defensive barriers in the way, it's too much of an ask for Chibs. He just can't do it, and the composition is just not designed to fight. SMILEY?
Oh, the TPs are coming in.
It's the bait, it's the bait. The teleport bait there is now Chibs jumps in. He's going to be slammed on. As you can see, he flashes away, but I don't think he's escaping.
Good night, sweet prince.
Dragged in. This one ain't going on TikTok. As Chibs just gets, he just gets absolutely busted. Oh, goodness me.
Fnatic's going to get taken down here.
He gets taken down. I don't know if Fnatic can capitalize much more on this. As you can see, Hustlin does get dragged in, has got that shield available. Lots of damage coming through, and he's getting supported now by toucouille. Dan will go down. And in the meantime, look at top lane. SMILEY and Shemek are just pushing on the top side of the map.
Fnatic are trying their best to try and find some sort of pick. The TPs rained in as soon as they saw SMILEY. And yeah, there's just not enough for this Fnatic side to actually pull themselves back in the game. There's not enough scaling, there's not enough engage, there's not enough tools to actually bring plays back into the equation. And SMILEY's probably going to end the game here. Fnatic's getting chased down. SMILEY and Shemek just hitting onto the towers. I think they can just free the towers. Fnatic are just going to get chased down. There's nothing they can do. There's an Ocean Soul. There's a toucouille on Syndra. He's level 16. He's got all the items he needs, and feels bad, man. Pride
can do nothing here. Chibs trying to defend the Nexus, but the rest of GamersOrigin are starting to rally around. SMILEY and Shemek, they'll do everything they can. They're going to get the LFL team 3 wins in the group as the Nexus will start to be focused. I don't even know if they can fight this 2 versus 3 right now. SMILEY is just too strong. They're going to go for the extra kills on the base. The rest of GamersOrigin will join them, and it's just a matter of finishing off the Nexus for our team from the French League. We could be seeing 3 French teams in the quarterfinals for the first time ever, and GamersOrigin have already got off to a good start.
Yeah, well played by them. Good draft, good execution. They made a few hiccups in the early game, like toucouille getting ganked, stuff like this. A few mid-waves weren't contested properly, but they snowballed really well. Good picks, good team fights, good reactions.
Yeah, I don't really know what else we need to say about it. And obviously Fnatic now have a bit more of a challenge on their hands if they want to get the NLC out into those quarterfinal stages. Of course, they have tough competition with Mouse Sports and Intrepid Fox as well. After the break, we'll come into our second game of the day. We'll see you soon.